Hello, everyone, and welcome to the KMC Controls Block Programming webinar. Really excited to have you all here with us today. We're really excited to share this content with you. And first off, happy Friday. Always good to be a Friday. And welcome to November. Can you believe it's already November? Wow. So without further ado, we're going to move right on into things. Today, my name is Andrew Reynolds. I am the video production manager here at KMC Controls, and presenting the main content today is Tom Joslin. He's the manager of technical sales here at KMC Controls. During the webinar, please feel free, ask any questions. Just go ahead and type them right into the GoToWebinar. We'll try to address them live. If we can't get to the questions, we will get to them after the fact, and we'll try to email out any answers that we need to get to you. Before we get into going through the block programming, we wanted to let you know that we recently released a new series of videos on block programming. We have introduction, routines, if block, and macros. So it's a great starting point to really dive into the block programming and see how it can be used in some real case examples. So please check those out on our YouTube. And we're going to move into the live demo now here with Tom. And I'm going to give him the reins to get things going here.
Hey, good morning. And we're going to go over look at some block programming today. Appreciate everybody being here. So let's talk a little bit about block programming. This block programming is what I would call more of a kind of a culmination of line code programming thought combined with using some blocks. So you've kind of got to use some thought into how you want this to work. It's a slightly different than what I would say a lot of the typical block programming that you may have used in the past. So I'm in Connect right now, and I've gone into this program 4. I've just chosen program 4 out of my program objects right here. Now, keep in mind that as we're writing our block program, it's going to be making our line code for us as we go. And I'll show you some examples of that as we get going here. But another important, very important part of this is that you can see how this enable line editor is kind of shaded right here. And we've got block editor as a choice. Now, if I start in block editor, I have to stay in block editor. So if I'm making a program and I start off with block editor, it's going to obviously generate line code in here. I cannot come back in here later and change this line code. So once you pick a road, you've got to stay on that road. You either do line code or you do block, but you can't go back and forth on the same program. Now, I can have a program 4 that's block program. I can have a program 6 that's a line program. So you can mix and match within the different programs inside here, but not in the same program. I hope that makes sense. So let's go ahead and click on block editor. And this opens up our block editing screen. I'm going to maximize this out so we can see the whole thing. So let's go over some buttons and what everything does, just to kind of get a feel for it. So this main area here we'd like to call the stage, and the program start button always comes up first. So over here on the left, up here in the top left, we've got some buttons, the compile button. So what that does is it just checks your program for errors, and it'll say compiled successfully. If it does not compile successfully, you would go back here to Connect, and your output window would show up and tell you where the problem is in your output window. The next button over is compile and save. So that's going to check for program errors, and it's going to save that file for you. This one will obviously halt the program if it's already running. This one will clear everything. So be forewarned if you do that. This one's going to unload, which means it's going to stop the program. This one is run. Now run will do a compile, it'll do a save, and then it's going to push the program down to the controller and run it. So it's going to do those three things. This is an align block program, so you can align some things which if you've got if you're the type of programmer that really likes nice, clean, straight lines, you may want to take a Xanax before you run this program, because it's not going to be all straight lines. It's there's some curviness to it, so we'll show you that as we get going. And then obviously we've got this toggle live values, which I call looks like a bat signal. So once you get the program up and running and you can hit the run button, you can toggle live values and see what's going on with the code. So let's make a little program to start with. We're not going to do anything real crazy fancy. This one just kind of gets you an idea of how it works. And when we're done, I've got a couple other examples of some more difficult programs that we put together here, and I'll give you show you some examples of those. So first off, over here we've got some objects, locals, routines, macros, all these different buttons over here. So obviously our objects, before you start in programming here, you should have already gone through and set up all of your points, set up your PID loops, your AVs, BVs, all that should be in here before you start this. Okay, so you've kind of done all of your setup work already, and now you're going to just connect everything and make it work. So block library, these are obviously all of our different tools that we can use to get the program that we need to do. We're going to use that search window quite a bit. It's very helpful. So the first thing we want to do is look in the block library, and we're going to look for an if block. Now, if you've done line code, you'll know that if is a block that is used quite a bit. If I run my cursor over the top of that, you can see gives you a description of what the different blocks do. So it's a decision-making statement. If the condition is true, the true statements are executed. If the condition is false, the false statements are executed. So what we want to do is we're going to start, let me back up just a little bit. I'm going to delete that. If I go back and look through all of these points, you can see they're color-coded as well. So you got purple, which is your AVs, you've got green, which is your BVs and BOs, and then you've got some gray ones down here, which are loops and other objects and programs. So everything that's in here is kind of color-coded to some extent. So let's talk a little bit about routines. Now, if you've done line code, you'll understand what a subroutine is. So this is kind of the same concept. You're going to be making a subroutine inside here, and it'll make more sense when you see the code after we've made a couple of these. So let's make a routine, and I like to do the routines because it's gonna make your space out here a whole lot more organized. If you tried to do all of your programming for an air handler inside of this one square on the stage right here, things could get a little messy. So let's break it up into different parts. So we're going to do a different part. We're going to do a part called fan start. So I'm going to hit R+ to add a new routine. And then we'll come over here and click on the little pencil. And we'll type in fan start. So now I've got a routine called fan start. We'll drag and drop him out here. And we'll connect him up because this is the program start. So you've always got to connect everything together so that it knows where the beginning of the program is and where the end of the program is. So I can go inside of this fan start now by clicking on the little R button. And you'll notice right away that I've got a routine start and a return block in here now. And up here in the top right, you see where it says program and fan start. So now I'm inside that routine. I can go back to the main page by clicking on program again. All right. So it's very important to make sure you know where you're at. So you see how the screen looks, program start and fan start. Now it says routine start and return. What you don't want to do is put your routines inside a routine. I suppose you could, but people sometimes will get lost on where they're at. If you see this in the top right hand corner, you know you're inside something. So just to kind of give you an idea, make sure you look around before you get started. So we're going to go inside this routine start, and it's got a return block already in there for you. So we're going to put some code in between here and here to make it happen for the fan start. Now we'll go back over here to objects. And like we were talking before, we're going to use this if statement, because if this condition is true or false, right, that's going to start or stop the fan. So we'll connect up our lines. Now you'll notice that condition is green, right? Because that's usually an on or off type of situation. Remember how we talked about the color coding before? So what conditions need to be met to turn the fan on or off? So occupancy, I think, would probably be the first one that everybody would think of. So we'll type in OCC in our window, and there we have BV5, our occupy command. And we're going to use the get because we want to get that information from the controller, right? Now, what else would be used, possibly, to start the fan? What if the low limit is on, right? What about a safety? There's a safety, like a fire alarm of some sort like that. So if we're occupied and our low limit's not on and our safety's not on, then we're going to allow the fan to run. So we've got to get all of these connected to this one condition, right? Now you can spread things out a little bit. You can even come over here to view. You can zoom out if you want to. Make things look a little bit easier for you to work with. So we're going to use the occupancy command and not low limit and not safety. That'll be our condition. So we'll go down here and look for the and block. We'll type in and. And I need another input here, so I'm just going to click add another input. And we'll connect this guy over here. Now, I need this to be, say, not low limit and not safety is on. So let's go down here and type in not. And there's our little not. Now, we also can highlight. If I just click on this button, you'll notice it gets a little yellow outline around it. And I can hit the Control C, Control V, copy paste, and make another one. Copy paste works well in this program. So we'll connect that guy up, and we'll connect this one. Notice everything's green, looks good. We'll hit that. There. Now we can take the result of this AND block and tie that to the condition of the if statement. Remember what I was saying before about the lines being crazy? Yeah. You can kind of try to, make things look a little bit more reasonable if you're really picky about how that stuff looks. You could obviously highlight some blocks here and go over here to align blocks, align to the left. It just depends on how much time you want to spend in making it look nice. It's up to you. I try to make it look at least so that it's legible, so that the next person that might look at my program would go, okay, this is a little easier to read. The other thing you want to consider is that if you need a little bit of space above these blocks, because if we go to toggle live values, you'll notice that those end up on the top. So if you have these stacked on top of one another too close, you won't see the live values. So if we're true, we're going to turn the fan on. If we're false, we're going to turn the fan off. And that'll be the end of our program. So we can take that next and go to that return right there. We'll just put him down here out of the way. So supply fan command. Now we're going to use the set block because we're going to set that output. And I'll need two of these actually, because one to turn it off, one to turn it on. So I'll do the copy paste again. I can do that again instead of dragging another one over there. Of course, it's up to you. And we'll connect him to the true. We'll connect him to the false. Now it's asking for a value. What would be the value for on? It'd be a 1. And the value for off would be 0. Now, if you highlight this, you'll see some things on the top of these blocks as well. There's some block comments you can put there. You can set the priority. You can set the property. So right now we're writing the present value. You can do out of service, minimum on time, relinquish default. So there's some different options you can do here. Right now it's writing to priority 9. You could write that to a different priority if you needed to, and that would all be done right here. So now we've got a routine done of a fan start. So let's check it and see if it works. We'll hit compile. The program compiled successfully. That's outstanding. We're going to hit OK. Now we can go back to program, the main, and this is what it looks like inside. Well, what does that look like in code? So if we go back to connect, we can see what we did in line code. And you can show all your friends, hey, look what I did in line code. So go sub, fan start. If command and not low limit and not safety, then supply fan command equals 1, else supply fan command equals 0. End if return. So you just made line code. Now notice it says block editor code up here. Remember what I was saying earlier about you can only, if you enable line editor at this point, it says enabling line editing may cause the block code to not open correctly. So, and then it won't. So you can't go in and edit this on this page. If you do, you're going to have to stay with line code from then on. So go back to line, or go back to the block program if you need to do something different. Let's do another example really quick. And we'll add another routine. And we'll call this routine heating and cooling. We'll drag him out there to the stage. Make sure to connect him. See how the lights, little thing turns white when you've got connected? Now, if this was the end of my program, do I need to put an end block out here? No, you don't. It knows that you're done. You don't need to put anything past this to say that's end. So now we're going to go open the heating and cooling. Again, we've got the routine start and return. You see in the top right where we're at, program, heating and cooling. It's very important. So what are we going to use for heating and cooling? Now, I'm just going to do something real basic here. And so if we've got, what would be the first thing we'd use? If. We're going to use that if block a lot. So if we've got, what would the condition be to run the heating and cooling? Well, let's just say for this example, fan status. So we'll come over here to fan status. And right there we go. Now, you notice I'm using fan status VB instead of fan status. So I'm using the BV30 instead of the binary input 6. And why would that be? Why would that be? So I've made some macros in the background that would connect this binary input to this BV. And the reason I do that is so I can go in and override this point, because I can override the BV because it's got a priority array, right? So I try to map all my points to a AV or a BV so that I can override or manipulate those points if I need to. So now I've got fan status, and if I use chill water valve, and I'm going to use the set command because we're going to put an output, turning on an output. Hot water valve. Now what controls that hot water valve and chill water valve? Well, if you've already got everything set up priority or properly before, you should have a PID loop that's going to control your chill water valve and hot water valve. So if we, let's see if we go down here and look inside, we'll find the PID loops. There's the chill water PID. So that's going to control our output value. And we've got a hot water valve PID. That'll control this guy. So if the fan status is on, allow the chill water valve to be controlled by the PID loop. We'll just connect this guy on here. Also, it's going to control the hot water valve. PID loop is going to control the hot water valve. So what if we're false? So let's copy and paste again. I have another set that comes down here. So for false, chill water valve, I'm going to put 0. Hot water valve, because I'm in Indiana and it's cold here, if we lose status, we want that to go to 100 so we don't freeze something. Unfortunately, we freeze here. Now, if you're in Arizona or Florida or somewhere where it's toasty warm, you don't have to worry about such things. Lucky. Okay, so if the fan status is on, We're going to allow the chill water valve and the hot water valve to be controlled by their PIDs. If the chill water valve, if we're false, the chill water valve is 0 and hot water valve is at 100. Let's check our compile. Program compiled successfully. All right. So that is our programming in a nutshell. That's some basic examples of how we go through. Now let me go back. Let me close this, and I'm going to show you a different one that's already been done, just to kind of give you an idea of what else is capable. So this is a lead lag program. So there's the code that's inside there. Yeah, there's some stuff. So what does that look like in block? Let's take a look. This is done by one of our highly skilled building gurus inside here. So just to give you an idea of what it is capable in here, you know, he's got some macros or routines in here, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So this is a 2-pump lead lag program, just to kind of give you an idea of what's possible to do. You can pretty much do anything you can think of in here. So he's got lead equipment 1, stages to run. He's comparing, and set equipment 2, set equipment 1. So there's a lot of conditions in here. You know, you see a lot of the if statements and so forth that he's done, just to kind of give you an idea of what's capable of being done in this program. Now, we didn't really talk a lot about macros, but macros are something that you can make. So if you wanted to, equipment runtime macro. I'm just going to drag that out there, and we'll open it up. So inside this macro, he's got some code. So he can write code inside the macro, and then it saves that for you. So if you need to write something in code and then drag and drop it out there repeatedly, something you would use again, anytime you make a macro, it shows up down here in your macros. So you can reuse it over and over again. So remember I was telling you about getting my AVs and analog and binary inputs. This is where that happened, inside that macro. Macros are very handy, and they can be used over and over again. So if you've got, you could actually put all of this code into one macro, and I think that's actually what he's going to do with this, is put all of this code into a macro, and then just drag and drop it out there and reuse it over and over, and share it with other people as well. So that's kind of the end of our demo here. I'd be open to entertain some questions. Hopefully I could answer for you. Feel free to let me know.
Absolutely, Tom. Yeah, we have a decent amount of questions here, so we'll just kind of roll down the list.
Let's see what you
I
got.
guess we were just talking about macros. So what is the difference between a macro and a subroutine?
Yeah. So like we were, let me scroll back up here. So a macro is really something that where you write code inside of. So if I were to go back here to the block editor, so a routine is this guy right here. A routine will have block programming inside of it. A macro will have line code inside of it. So you can write any kind of code you want to inside here and line code and save it. Whereas inside this guy is block, inside this guy is line code. So
Perfect, thanks. Can you add a schedule, and like how might you go about doing that?
Well, a schedule would be done already in Connect. So you do your schedules inside Connect. Um, that's set up already inside Connect. So it's not really done in here.
Gotcha. Perfect. So like kind of moving with that, can you write block code to override a fan that's on a schedule, or things like that?
Yes, I suppose you could. Yeah, you would have to use a priority code or a priority that would be, obviously higher than whatever the schedule is. Then it would do that. Yes.
Gotcha. Perfect. We have another one. Can you copy line code from block code and insert that into the line editing mode?
No.
Okay. Let's check it
And
out
make it
here.
block, you mean, and then make it, no.
Right. Let me see that one more time. It's copy line code from block mode and insert it into line editing mode. So.
Yeah, I would think that would work. Yeah, actually. Yeah. Yeah, if you're going from if you copied this and put it into something else, yeah, I'm certain that would work.
Mhm.
Now I will tell you this here's a little tidbit. This rim statement down here at the bottom that says block program, which is about 4 miles long, is actually everything that's inside that block program and where it's at and what it's doing. Now, if you were to copy that rim statement right down here and just copy that whole thing and paste it into another empty program and then hit block editor, it would bring up the exact same program.
Perfect. Another couple quick questions. How do we write a null value to a point?
A null value to a point. Let's see. Not certain. Out of service would be my guess right here. Out of service is what you're talking about. I guess I'm not certain what it is they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Change your priority here, but that would be your only options of doing a null.
Gotcha. Perfect.
Yeah,
We have another question.
otherwise you'd have to write it in code.
Uh,
Writing it in line code would probably be with a macro would probably be your best bet.
Perfect. And then the last question we have here, can we do this in Niagara?
Absolutely. This looks exactly the same in Niagara. It has the same functions. It's the same program. So if you wrote this in Connect and it's in the controller and you go to Niagara and open it up inside there and using Converge, looks exactly the same.
Well, perfect. Thank you so much, Tom. I'm going to take back over and kind of wrap up the webinar here. And then before we leave here, just wanted to go through a few things here. We would love it if you guys could vote for us for the 2018 Control Trends Award nominations. We sent out an email, I believe it was yesterday, and we're nominated in a ton of categories, and we would really appreciate your votes. So please don't forget to send those in. Also, all of our webinars are available on YouTube. Get asked this a lot. So all of our content, any video content, you can find it on our YouTube channel. It's going to be youtube.com/KMC Controls. And this webinar will be up there shortly. And then last but not least, you can always connect with us via LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. We're always posting to those platforms, and we're trying to be the responsive and supportive people that are always active. And so if you drop us a line on any of those social media platforms, we're very responsive in getting back with you, and we would love to connect with you more. So make sure to follow us there. And we really appreciate everyone attending the webinar today, and we hope you got some really good information out of the block programming. And we just want to thank you for being great partners, and we want you to have a wonderful Friday and a fantastic November. So thank you so much again for coming.